Good night. Good night, Guyana. Well, tonight, I just wanted to take some time off of my work schedule to address some sentiments I heard on the airwaves, on GPL, and some other matters concerning taxes and so on. But these comments were made by the former Minister of Finance, Winston Jordan, on a show by Mr. Christopher Jones concerning the state that he left the economy in and so on. But I would like to just make it clear to our Guyanese citizen. First, I would like to say to Mr. Jordan, I understand that he mentioned that his health is of critical concern to him now, and I wish him all of the health and strength that there is, and I hope that he's safe. But I would just like, for the record, I would like to let the Guyanese people know what we inherited as a government. And it's just to set the facts. The first thing is that the central bank, Jordan mentioned that, we keep talking about billions and billions. I would just like to set the record straight. The Bank of Guyana is recorded close to $100 billion in an overdraft. But put that aside. Mr. Jordan went on today to talk about GPL. So I am this subject minister for the day-to-day management of the energy sector, and I believe that I'm compelled to set the record straight about what I found at GPL after some inquiry about a $50 million loan from the government of Guyana to GPL to buy some generating sets. So first of all, let me just go back to the genesis of it, and I'll let you know where we are currently with it as a country. So upon resumption to work, the first thing we saw in the news was GPL took a loan from the government of Guyana for $50 million US. So to buy 5 generating sets. These are Wärtsilä generating sets. So the 5 generating sets cost $50 million US. That is the contract price. But there's another part of it that was not in the news, which is another $2.3 million US that GPL has to pay to make sure that certain works are done at the Garden of Eden site. So I'd just like to explain what we have here. So we have 5 generating sets. These are Wärtsilä generating sets. They're heavy fuel oil, and they can work with gas as well. And there's $2.3 million that GPL will have to put into the project to do some retrofitting at Garden of Eden. Within the $50 million, there are civil works that have to be done, and the civil works have to coincide with the arrival of 5 generating sets. So let's go back to the genesis of it. So based on my investigation and my discussions with the management of GPL, this process first arrived on the records of GPL on December 4th, 2019. There was some board minutes that I've reviewed, and it was mentioned in there that they are looking to procure these sets. GPL does not have the money to do that, but yet they went ahead, the government went ahead and facilitated the request to finance the purchase of these 5 generating sets. Now, the first loan was negotiated, and I do have the loan agreements. I've worked with them. The first loan was negotiated and paid $1.1 billion in April, and then a $4.5 billion on the 22nd of May, and there was another tranche of $5 billion on the 22nd of June. So here are the transactions, the date of the transactions. Mind you, we had an election March 2nd. From March 2nd to the resumption of the PPP government sometime in August 2nd, between that space, there was a recount. The recount already established that PPP was the winner. At the point when these monies were being negotiated and paid out, The previous government was a caretaker government. They were not allowed to spend these huge sums of money to strap future generation with the kind of loan that they did here. We understand that GPL have needs. GPL, as of last night, their capacity that they were producing was about 117 megawatts. The design capacity is a little above that, maybe 125, somewhere around that, close to 130. So for you to go spend this amount of money during a time when the country is literally bankrupt, and you have gone and expend this money into GPL at a time when there's a pandemic, and during the pandemic, a whole lot of workers are furloughed, they don't have jobs, businesses are shut down, they need support, and the previous government has not used their wits at that time to help people, but yet went and spent all of this money on generating sets. So the generating sets are not yet here. They are in Finland. They have been finished, I understand, based on a correspondence that I received, that they are finished. But the issue here is the civil works. The civil works is a 10-month contract that will run till April 2021. So regardless of if the generators are finished now, or a month from now, or 2, 3, 4, 5 months from now, it still cannot be put into use because the civil works is till April 2021. So what the sensible thing was to do was maybe to create the civil works force, right? So that you understand you can spend less money on that and use the monies that the ministry had to do other things. We have forestry. I'm sure you saw the news everywhere. Forestry staff not being paid. You have GPL. GPL himself, they in another 2 months will need monies to run the organization. So I just like to bring the truth to the Guyanese people. And the truth of the matter is that the monies that were spent to buy these generators could have waited. They could not have spent this large sum of money to strap the Guyanese people with 50 million US. And then another 2 million GPL now have to take up from their coffers of monies that they don't have to put to the project, for to put in more financial strain on GPL. We understand, we're in government now, we understand the needs of the reliable electricity, but there are other means that the government are looking to generate electricity. There are other means and other programs right now that are being pursued to generate electricity to add to the grid, and other methods of generating electricity. So to buy these these generating sets that burn heavy fuel oil, as I said, they can use gas, but that is not the issue. It is tantamount for a person or a family wanting to go buy a big house and fill it up with all the amenities without having the money to do that. So what you have to do, you have to go outside your means and borrow. And that is what has happened here between GPL and the then Minister of Finance and the Minister of Public Works, Mr. Patterson. They have put this country in 50 million US debt to buy these 5 generating sets. So I would just like to put that on record, that is what we have inherited. We cannot benefit from it now during this pandemic because it cannot be shipped right now because of the weight of each one of these generators. Each one of these generators, at least one, weighs about 150 metric tons. So we cannot benefit from it now. So a better use of the money could have gone to help our people in the country that are starving. That we have spent going around the country seeing people don't have work. They have nothing. They don't have a job. The economy is closed down. And monies could have been used to buy PPE for people. It could have been used to help them with groceries. It could have helped the private sector to stimulate, to bring back workers into the fold. But yet we decide to use all of that money, 10.762 billion Guyanese dollars, to buy 5 generating sets at a time of a pandemic. We need it, but it could have been deferred. We could have waited. We could have only done the civil works. We could have done multiple different other things than to go spend this kind of money. I would also like to respond to Mr. Jordan about his comments on taxes too. I mean, everywhere you go in the country, people have to pay taxes. They have to pay taxes on everything that the previous government has put in. Everything that you go and buy, it attracts, they put VAT on it. They put VAT on most of the items. That is why at the annual intake that they had, there was 91 billion more than what a PPP administration pre-2015 has ever took in. The most amount of tax on the PPP administration was $135 billion. These guys, when they came into government over the short 5 years, taxes rose to $226 billion. That is a huge increase. So if you claim that you're not charging people more tax on more items, how come you are arriving at these huge, massive inflows into government coffers? It is because you're taxing all of the items under the VAT regime. So I would just like to make that clear to the Guyanese people. And we feel it when we go to the supermarket. We feel it when we go to a hardware store. We feel it when we go and buy consumable items. Every time you go and you try to pay for something, there is an element of tax on it. So I would just like to make that statement tonight on the GPL issue, on the taxes and the debt. The Vice President today did have a conference where he laid out some of the numbers, and I am here also to set the record straight with the issue of the $50 million they have given to GPL to make this purchase of 5 Wärtsilä engines, totaling 46.5 megawatts of power to be added to the grid. I'm saying again, just to repeat, that we will not benefit from this until 2021, April onwards. That is if everything goes smooth. In a pandemic, things are not going smooth. So we are spending this money up front in a pandemic that I believe that could have been deferred. I believe that the money was spent on the regime that knew they lost an election and did not have the power to spend such a large sum of the Guyanese taxpayers' money to do this kind of purchase. I would just like to leave it there for tonight. Thank you very much.